Hi, I am Kate Rothko Purcell, and this is my husband, Ilya Purcell, and we are the co-chairs of the dinner tonight, which is a great honor. And we have a rather long connection going back about 10 years with the institution. I got a call about a year before the last gala here from Rabbi Nosson Blumis, and I had no idea who this was, but after the second message on my home machine, which I seldom answer anymore because we seem to have become cell phone people, I thought, well, this must not be a sales call of any sort, but must be a serious call. And I called Rabbi Blumis back, and he started to tell me an incredible history about my father, which I really knew nothing about. My father was Mark Rothko, and he became a well-known, mainly abstract painter, mainly working in the 1960s and 1970s. But the history I didn't know about him was that he had taught for almost 20 years at the Center Academy in Brooklyn, teaching art to children. I had heard some story that he maybe taught in Brooklyn at a Jewish school for a few years, but I had no idea his commitment to this particular institution. And that began our friendship both with Rabbi Blumis and also with the entire institution. At the time my father was here, he taught with many other well-known faculty members, such as Richard Tucker and Sholem Secundum, and many others on the staff as well. And I have come over the years talking to Rabbi Blumis and also looking through some of the archives to understand better what an incredible educational institution this was. But it is a real pleasure to see the new community here, of course, a very close-knit community, also very committed to education. But it's been wonderful to see the bridge that this community is trying to build with the old community, really unearthing the history of this building, the history of the prior congregation, and the history of the school that was here before. And so it is a great pleasure to welcome you here tonight, and I'd like to turn my husband has decided he will say a word, which is great. Just a moment.
And in addition to the wonderful things that we could say about Rabbi Blumis and the community that followed, we were honored to visit the Ohalei Menachem school. And what impressed us most is that there were children, obviously, with special needs. And the kind of love and support that this school bestowed on children with special needs touched us so much that ever since then, we felt very, very committed to the school, because children with special needs sometimes require a great deal of patience and effort, and this school seemed to spare no effort whatsoever.
So let me now turn the evening over to Rabbi Nosson Blumis, my good friend and the coordinator of the Brooklyn Jewish Center Circle. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those were the days, my dear, dear friends. You all just saw now your parents and your grandparents entering this very room, in this very building, at the very first dinner and dance of 1955. Those were the days, and each and every one of you tonight are making those days into these days, those happy times into these happy times. Your interest, your support, but mainly the unity of tonight adds to the true beauty of the building. And I am honored to quote the great Rabbi Israel H. Leventhal as he wrote to a dedication in 1922 of the building. The value of the center will lie not in its physical structure, beautiful though it may be, but in the message that will carry forth from this building, in our hearts and in our minds. Its usefulness will not be measured by the material appearances with which it is outfitted, but the type of character that shall be here developed. Its glory to Israel shall not be in its external beauty, but in the spiritual beauty that shall from today on manifest upon the countenance of the men and women aligned with this great institution. We have opened our doors tonight again for you. And we at the Educational Institute Ole Torah keep these doors open for you, for your children, that they too shall bask in the pride of the building their ancestors built and take part in its glory today. We begin tonight's dinner with breaking of the bread of the Hamotzi. We'd like to call upon Mr. Mark Levy, a former member of the center. His parents were connected with the center, and Mr. Levy is a most dear friend. He has been part of our activities for many, many years. Mr. Levy, please lead us with the Hamotzi. Amen. We have big challahs here in the Jewish Center. Thank you, thank you. Enjoy your meal. The Jewish Center was aligned and in key support of the vital role the land of Israel plays to all of world Jewry. I wish to convey to you that from this very building, we send out the top students every year for a year of study and support to over 12 various cities in the land of Israel, where they bring forth the light, the warmth, but most importantly, the harmony between all our brothers and sisters in the land, in the Holy Land. We dedicate this upcoming song in the memory of Doctors Anna and Irving Aronow, who raised fine children that are passionate of the three pillars that unite us, and they are completely intertwined: the land of Israel, the people of Israel, and the study of God's Torah. I now call upon Mendel Kugel, an alumni of our school, and those of you who may recall, Mendel performed for us 9 years ago at the very first gala reunion. Mendel, please. as they say in Yiddish, nu, anole Torah alumni. We all owe a great debt of gratitude to our parents and our grandparents who built this most beautiful building, but also built the legacy and the spirit of the center. They did so in such an everlasting manner that we are here tonight, long after they've passed, long after the hands have changed at the center. I'd like to ask everybody at this time to please rise as we each say our own private prayer for our parents and grandparents and for those in the center who nurtured us to who we are today. Thank you. Being we are in the month of Elul, preceding the high holidays, we would like to call upon Meir Shem Tov to blow for us the shofar. Meir Shem Tov is a grandson of Rabbi Hirsch Chitrik, a prominent Crown Heights resident and former associate of the Brooklyn Jewish Center. And with the sounds of the shofar, a prayer goes from the bottom of our hearts and the depth of our souls. Meir. Meir Shem Tov is also my son-in-law. Thank you, Mendel. Ashana Tova to each and every one of you. I have now the honor to introduce to you a man who has committed his life to keep his father's legacy alive. Mr. Barry Tucker is a financial advisor and vice president with JP Morgan Securities, a wealth management division of JP Morgan. But his true passion is keeping his father's legacy alive through the Richard Tucker Foundation. And I must add, Mr. Tucker is a true mensch. As I spoke to Mr. Tucker late last night going over the final details, I wished him at the beginning of our conversation a gute Woche, a good week, is what Jews wish each other at the onset of every new week after the Shabbos ends. He paused, and he wished me the same with great emotion. And he said, "You know, I remember my grandfather saying that every week." So being that today is Sunday, I want to wish you and everyone here a gute Woche. And for all of us here, it should be a blessed week and a beautiful way to begin a new week. And very, very soon, a new year. Without further ado, tonight's Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Barry Tucker.
Good evening and welcome again to the Brooklyn Jewish Center's Gala Reunion Dinner. I am honored to serve as your Master of Ceremonies and want to tell you why this evening and this occasion are so special to me. In this very room was my celebration for my bar mitzvah. That day was March 10th, 1951, and I have a great little story to tell you about that day. That morning, Saturday morning, was a beautiful morning, and as some of you remember, my father was the cantor here with Rabbi Leventhal. So he and I walked from our apartment here on Park Place up the avenue, New York Avenue, to the corner. And he was just telling me to take it easy and relax. You have nothing to worry about. When I got to the corner with him of Eastern Parkway and New York Avenue, as we all know, there are park benches all along the avenue. They were filled with people. I said, Dad, this is 8:30 in the morning. What are all these people here sitting on these benches at 8:30 in the morning? He said, he turned to me like any father would. He said they're here to come to you, hear you perform at your bar mitzvah. I said, are you right? Here I was, all of 13 years old, but I really knew why they were here. They came to hear a good chazan. It was true, that bar mitzvah, by the way, was truly memorable, and I will never forget Rabbi Leventhal, Cantor Rogoff, who was a shamus, and my father, and Shalom Sekunda. I used to come here a lot with my father to the gym, to swim, to play basketball, and enjoy his favorite activity, which was the schwitz downstairs. And of course, how many times we came here on Friday nights and Saturday mornings for him davening here in shul. Those were the great memories. In 1951, my family left Brooklyn for the wilds of Great Neck, Long Island. The new cantor was Cantor William Sola, whose daughter and family are here with us tonight. Will you please stand and be recognized and for a round of applause from everybody. Thank you. He truly was a wonderful cantor. And now I'm pleased to introduce Rabbi Mendel Duckman, who will give us an Olei Torah alumni perspective. Rabbi Duckman, an alumni of Olei Torah School, was born and raised just 2 blocks away from this building on Eastern Parkway. After his marriage, he moved to the West Coast and has been actively involved in commerce as well as improving the Chabad youth of today. Recently, he has returned to Olei Torah as Director of Philanthropy to assist the school in launching many new initiatives, including an 8-story dormitory building which will be on the corner of Eastern Parkway and Brooklyn Avenue. Please welcome Rabbi Duckman.
You skipped a few people, but that's okay.
Okay.
Be careful. Good evening. Only Mr. Tucker can skip the program, and invite all of us for a few minutes before we see the video, which you'll see in a few moments. I'm truly honored, my dear friends, honored guests, distinguished rabbis, my dear principal, Rabbi Rosenfeld, with whom I spent many hours in his private office, and distinguished guests, Rabbi Krinsky from the Chabad movement, and many, many beautiful people, the board of directors of Olei Torah. It's truly mazel tov, having been born and raised at 922 Eastern Parkway between Albany and Troy Avenues all my life, running around on the Parkway, and standing here in front of you, the founders of this magnificent edifice and beautiful community. So last night, having spent Shabbat on the West Coast with my junior congregation, a youth program, I hopped on a 12:35 red eye to New York JFK. I'm way past the days of red eyes, but I wanted to be here tonight, and that was the only way I was able to be here, so I made an exception. And there I am, both of my eyes red, landing at JFK. And those of you that know Terminal 8, it's a beautiful terminal, but they built it that if you end up in the 40 gates, you got to take an escalator down, a long tunnel, and an escalator up. So it's early this morning, a little vermatterd, a little tired, and I'm walking on this tunnel. I've taken the escalator. When it's a day flight, I try to walk with all the fast people, but this time I took the escalator, and all of a sudden I hear an elderly lady, young man. I turn around. I didn't think she meant me. Young man. And there she is with an American Airlines employee pushing her in a wheelchair. And she tells the attendant, keep up with the young man on the escalator. So there I am running on the escalator, and the lady is pushing the wheelchair. Says, I want to ask you a question. Are you from Eastern Parkway? I said, I am. She says, so am I. Well, now I'm from Louisiana. She was an elderly African-American lady, a real regal-looking woman. And she says to me, I have to share something with you. I was born and raised on on New York Avenue and Eastern Parkway. And we were always amazed to see the flow of people that would head to this magnificent castle-looking building on Eastern Parkway. And every time I go to our house of worship in Louisiana, till today, I tell them, this is what it's supposed to be like. People walking with a bounce, people being involved in a community center. And I'm still, the escalator is about to end, and it tells you, watch out, watch out. It's, what does it say? You got to get off, you got to get off. I jumped off, and she comes a little closer to me, and I said, but that's not really the end. The end is, I'm going to tell you a secret. I was the neighborhood Shabbos goy. They used to come and knock on my door when they needed something done a little bit special on different days. So my dear friends, this happened this morning. This is impact. This is what the Brooklyn Jewish Center is all about. We took the elevator together, we chatted for another few minutes, we exchanged numbers, and I want to tell you, my dear friends, I went to school all my life, right here in this school. First in Ola Torah, over on Buffalo, and now later years here, and I can openly stand here and say that I owe everything that I have, the chutzpah, the drive, the ambition, came from this yeshiva, from this school. And one of the things that I learned was the Mishnah, the famous Mishnah that says, you got to know three things and you're going to do okay in life. One is you have to know where you come from. You got to know where you're going to. And finally, what will become of your legacy, what you're going to leave behind. And my dear friends, where we come from is right here in this room. This room speaks for itself, the history, the emotions. I spent the entire summer meeting with many of you personally, and for those of you that I have not met yet, I'm sure you'll hear from me whether you like it or not. But we had an opportunity to meet so many beautiful people, so many languages, so many messages, so many life cycles. And I'm truly honored to be here, and this is where we come from. And where we going to? I know what we do in Los Angeles, and I know what we do in the world when I travel on a weekly basis. The giants, the leaders, the lawyers, the doctors, the spiritual leaders, the Rebbe's shluchim come from right here, come from this very building. Whether they're in Monticello, New York, Dallas, Texas, Berkeley, California, St. Louis, Missouri, and on. Wherever I find myself, there is an address of the alumni of right here of this yeshiva, and that's where we're going to. So I want to thank each and every one of you, my dear friends, dear honorees, all the friends and members. Thank you for schlepping out. Thank you for coming to join us, especially during the evening that we will be launching in Yirtzeh Hashem, please God, our scholarship chair initiative, where together we can fulfill all the dreams that this center and the esteemed Rabbi Leventhal has stated. And this is what he stated, my friends. The Center Academy has paved the way in America for Jewish day schools of all types. It is the pioneer in this field of education and has inspired and led many a community to follow its example. So it would right to say, my dear friends, that what we see in Yiddishkeit and Judaism all over the world had a very strong beginning from right here in Brooklyn. Wishing you all a very, very happy New Year, L'Shana Tova.
Rabbi David Hamowitz. Rabbi Hamowitz began his career at the center on Rosh Hashanah 1969, a time when the demographics in Crown Heights were dramatically changing. Yet Rabbi Hamowitz showed true leadership and led the center's congregation with full vigor and devotion as a true servant of the Almighty. He stayed on with the center until the merger between the center and the educational institute Ole Torah, when he was assured that more secure and stable times would follow. He was a giant in Torah learning and valued the role that Ole Torah would play for the future of the center. Rabbi Hamowitz also took an active role in Ole Torah and joined many of its school functions. We are proud to have his family with us tonight and take part in this legacy tribute. Rabbi Benjamin Tzvi Kreitman. Rabbi Kreitman joined the center in 1952 as the associate rabbi. He later became the main rabbi and a trustee member. Rabbi Kreitman undertook many responsibilities in the center, including teaching the weekly Mishnah class, writing articles for the Center Review, and educating the youth of the center. His wife, Joyce Krimsky, also took an active role in the sisterhood. The Kreitmans' two daughters, Jamie and Jill, spent their early years in the center and celebrated their father's many accomplishments. In his later years, Rabbi Kreitman poured his efforts and resources into the BJC Circle and gave Rabbi Blooms the encouragement to continue and expand. In 2011, Rabbi Kreitman dedicated a classroom in Ole Torah to show appreciation for the ongoing friendship and admiration the two great institutions have had for the past 50 years. Cantor William Soller began his career as the cantor in the center in 1945. He also took upon himself other important roles, such as organizing Passover Seders, communal events, and Hanukkah celebrations. Prior to the center, he was a cantor in Adat Israel, one of Canada's largest synagogues. Cantor Soller was beloved throughout the 28 years of his life that he devoted to the cantorial liturgy and the spiritual well-being of the center. His wife Edith and their daughters Gaina and Bianca were also an integral part of the center and were well known and loved by all. We are honored to have his family here with us this evening at this very special occasion.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Our next guest speaker, Dr. Jeffrey Borer, is chairman of the Brooklyn Jewish Center Circle Committee, and he will give us a report on the activities and accomplishments of BJC Circle. Dr. Borer is currently director of the Howard Gilman Institute for Heart Valve Diseases and the Schiavone Cardiovascular Translational Research Institute. He is a world-renowned cardiologist whose patients included President Nixon and Billy Graham. Dr. Borer grew up at the center and, like me, celebrated his bar mitzvah in this very room. He lived on President Street, which is a few blocks that way, just a few blocks away. Dr. Borer is a dear friend of the BJC and a longtime supporter. He and his wife, Bondi, dedicated a classroom in memory of their parents in this building. Dr. Borer.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the extraordinary efforts of Rabbi Blumis and his new assistant, who you've just heard, Rabbi Duchman, we're here for the second face-to-face meeting of the Brooklyn Jewish Center Circle. The first one was 8 years ago in 2011, so there's a long space between the two. The first meeting was timed to coincide with the 90th anniversary of the dedication of the center's main sanctuary. Now we're celebrating the 100th anniversary, the centennial of the founding of the center in 1919. The survival of this building and of the institution is attributable in large part to the support of Ocheli Torah. With the gradual exodus of the original center community, which began to escalate in the 1960s, membership fell and survival was threatened, and Ocheli Torah began renting the facility in 1972. Ocheli Torah then purchased the center in 1982, when the remaining center trustees decided to aim at continuing the purposes for which the center was founded, and that's what Ocheli Torah is doing here. Slowly, a database of several hundred names of former members and their children was established, and in 2005, the Brooklyn Jewish Center Circle began. Since then, the Circle has done a number of things, and I'm going to go through them with you so that you understand that this is actually a dynamic effort. First, the Circle launched the Brooklyn Jewish Center website and added digitized archives in a joint effort with the Jewish Theological Seminary. There are currently more than 27,000 pages in that digitized archive. The Circle compiled more than 11,000 names of former BJC members and Center Academy alumni from 1919 through 1996, and these names are available for their descendants to see and for further inquiry. And to date, several hundred such inquiries have been handled. The Circle also perpetuated 670 memorial plaques on the website and made them available to families. It has distributed 78 Sidurim found in storage in this building to their rightful owners. It's partnered with the newly built National Museum of American Jewish History in Philadelphia on the model of the Brooklyn Jewish Center as a permanent museum display. Many of you are aware that the center was one of the first, if not the first, Jewish community centers in the United States, and one of the first 2 or 3 conservative synagogues anywhere. The Circle has dedicated 3 classrooms and recreational facilities on this campus that carry the BJC name and the donors' names, and I must say that my wife and I donated one of these, as you heard, and so did Rabbi Kreitman, who was the rabbi officiating at my bar mitzvah. Rabbi Blumis has officiated at 17 funerals of former members in front of this building, including my mother's. The Circle has produced historical videos on the Brooklyn Jewish Center that have garnered almost 10,000 hits on YouTube and hosted many families who have come here to see where they came from. And today we're embarking on an endowment fund to perpetuate the memories of our parents and the milestones celebrated here in this building. So there's a lot going on involving the BJC Circle. I hope you want to participate actively in these activities and, if possible, to extend them further. Thank you very much.
Honorable Abe Beame was mayor of New York City from 1974 to 1977. He was a practicing Jew, and along with his wife, Mary Beame, was an active member in the center. The Beames were very devoted to the center and continued their membership well after many other congregants moved on to newer, more flourishing synagogues. In 1987, Abe Beame was even called up to the Torah during Yom Kippur services at the center. He was very involved in the Crown Heights community and was a frequent guest at 770, the Lubavitch World Headquarters. Honorable Abraham Lindenbaum, known as Bunny, was a governing member of the center, as well as president of the Mishnah class for many years. Bunny was a successful lawyer, politician, and a real macher, one who would wheel and deal. His son, Samuel Lindenbaum, known as Sandy, grew up in Crown Heights and attended the Hebrew Academy at the center. One of the last organizations Sandy gave his name to was the Brooklyn Jewish Center Circle Community, thus completing the full circle of his life. Sandy passed away in 2012. Samuel Rottenberg, a man of great vision and integrity, was the very first president of the center from 1919 to 1929 and continued to be an active member well into his 80s. The center was Samuel's pride and joy, as he was one of the core members who envisioned the center from the beginning stages. As a devout Jew, Samuel championed for many Jewish causes and traditions, and thus saw the need for the center. We all owe Samuel Rottenberg a great debt of gratitude for his foresight. Dr. Moses Spat was a well-known philanthropist, businessman, and pillar of the Brooklyn Jewish community. He was also president of the center, president of the Brooklyn Jewish Hospital, and a longtime treasurer of the Kings County Republican Committee. Dr. Spat's residence at 505 Eastern Parkway was open to all, including many Orthodox rabbis. Rabbi Leventhal was a frequent guest of the Spats and wrote his famous sermons on the porch. Though Dr. Spat passed away in 1972, we are honored to have his daughter, Irene, here for tonight's tribute.
It is my great pleasure to introduce tonight's keynote speaker, Rabbi Joseph Potasnik. Rabbi Potasnik serves as a spiritual leader at Congregation Mount Sinai in Brooklyn, New York. He is currently Executive Vice President of the New York Board of Rabbis, the largest interdenominational body of its kind. He's also co-host of Religion Online, WABC 770 AM, longest-running talk radio program, which airs every Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. As an aside, our son Robert is an expert on security issues and has been a guest on Rabbi Potasnik's radio show many times. Rabbi Potasnik has served as chaplain of the New York City Fire Department, the Fraternal Order of Police, and the New York Press Club, maintaining a high profile in public affairs in the city. Rabbi Potasnik received his BA from Yeshiva University, his MS from the Bernard Revel Graduate School of Yeshiva University, and received rabbinic organization from the Rabbi Isaac Elkman Theological Seminary at Yeshiva University in 1972, and a JD from Brooklyn Law School. He is a vocal voice and many times stood by in aid of Crown Heights community. Rabbi Potasnik was also a dear friend and colleague of Rabbi Benjamin Z. Kreitman, Rabbi Emeritus of the Brooklyn Jewish Center. It is my great honor and pleasure to introduce my friend, Rabbi Joe Potasnik.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Joan Tucker, the Tucker family, for all the friendship we've enjoyed over the years. I'm sorry I came here late, but I was stopped by some of the Lubavitch young people asking me if I put on tefillin, and they wouldn't let me go until I convinced them I had, so it took a little bit of time. But I was impressed with something one of the young men said to me. He studies in this building. So tell me a little bit about the building. He said, you should know that every day in this building there are some 2,000 people studying Torah. That to me is a very impressive accomplishment. I also want you to know that Rabbi Bloomis called me with the most unusual invitation. He said, "Rabbi, you believe in free speech?" I said, "Of course I do." He said, "Good, come give one tonight." Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Bloomers. Some years ago, Arthur Ashe, a famous tennis player, was in a match against Ilya Nastasi. Nastasi was known as being nasty on the court. Ashe was winning the match. But Ashe then turned to the umpire and said, "If he continues to disparage me this way, I'm going to walk off the court." And the umpire said, "Remember, you're leading. If you walk off, you'll forfeit the match." And Ashe said very simply, "I would rather lose a match than my self-respect." I want to say to all of you, especially you in the Crown Heights community, you never walk away. And by not walking away, you maintain your self-respect. Some time ago, I was talking with the chief of police in Pittsburgh, Scott Schubert. He was the one who entered Tree of Life Sanctuary right after the shooting. And he said he walked around, he wanted to see exactly what transpired, and he picked up a prayer book, and there was a bullet hole in it. He said to me, "Rabbi, who would have thought in the year 2018 then, there would be a bullet hole in a prayer book in America?" Of course, you know what happened in Poway, where a woman lost her life, Rabbi was injured. But I will also tell you that the people of Crown Heights, the Jews here, the Jews in Poway, the Jews in Pittsburgh, they're not walking away. They're going to stay because they have their self-respect. When I was engaged in conversations with Rabbi Kreitman, he raised an interesting question. He talked about that famous incident in the Talmud where two people are stranded in the wilderness, one canteen of water, and you know what happens. There's enough water for one to drink. If both drink, both die. So the question becomes, who should drink from the canteen? Keeping with Jewish tradition, there's a dispute back and forth. Finally, the consensus is that if you own the canteen, you should drink from it. Chayecha kodmim, your life takes precedence. But Rabbi Kreitman said to me, "Joe, remember something. Even though that person can drink of the canteen, when he walks away, he knows he has a responsibility to the person who couldn't drink from the canteen." He said, "Always remember, we have a responsibility to those Jews over the years who paid the highest price for hatred of our people." I remember Rabbi Leventhal wrote that when you look at the curses that took place, the plagues in Egypt, you know, Moses was able to take a staff, turn it into a snake, and then the Torah says, "Vayasu chen chatumei Mitzrayim." The Egyptian magicians could do the same thing. So Leventhal said, so what was the greatness of the Egyptian magicians if they could duplicate what Moses did? And Leventhal answered that it's very easy to bring curses in the world. The question is, who is going to solve them? So I say to all of you tonight that what this circle has done is really remarkable, because I think you remind us that we didn't just become Jews to fight anti-Semitism. To be anti-Semitism doesn't make someone a good Jew. The best response to anti-Semitism is Semitism. When 2,000 people every day study in this building, that's a response to anti-Semitism. That also is the best tribute to those who have suffered over the years. That also is a way of bringing a solution rather than a curse into the world. I remember some time ago at the Board of Rabbis, we wanted to send Torahs to Jewish soldiers stationed in Kuwait and in Iraq. And it wasn't easy. As a matter of fact, it was your son, Robert Tucker, who helped us make that arrangement, because it's very hard to find an insurance firm that will insure Torahs going to war zones, but he was able to help us. And I remember the Torahs arrived at the board, and I looked at the Torahs and I said to the rabbis of all different denominations, which one is the Orthodox Torah? Which one is the conservative Torah, the Reform, the Reconstructionist? And you know the answer. You couldn't tell. Every Torah was the same on the inside. The outside was a little bit different. I think all of us have to recognize that when these hate mongers attack Jews, they don't ask, are you Orthodox or any other denomination? To them, every Jew is to be despised. So we are here tonight because we are committed to the future of the Jewish people, and that future is predicated on Jewish education. There was a magazine years ago, remember, called Life? Remember Life magazine? After Life magazine, there was a magazine called People. After People, there was a magazine called Us. After Us, there was a magazine called Self. So we started Life, People, Self, Us. But we Jews read from right to left. So first you begin with self. But as you, Rabbi Krinsky, and so many others have reminded us, it's not just about self. It's about us as a people who have to make sure that Jewish life remains vibrant and valuable wherever we are. Maybe one day, when we do work together as one people, we will find a new prayer that we can write, which will say very simply, Shema Yisrael, Hear, O Israel, Yisrael Amenu, Yisrael Echad. Israel is our people, and finally, we are one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Potasnik. And I must say, you brought great honor to the continuation of the great rabbis here of the Brooklyn Jewish Center. Ladies and gentlemen, dinner is being served as we speak. I just wish to recognize a few special guests we have this evening. Rabbi Yehuda Krinsky served as the secretary of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, and is the chairman of Merkaz L'Inyanei Chinuch, the educational arm of Chabad Lubavitch movement. It is an honor to have you and your family with us this evening. Rabbi Joseph Rosenfeld, the longtime executive director of Holy Torah, who began the relationship with the former members of Brooklyn Jewish Center going back to 1972. There are so many to mention, but I would like to point out Dr. Gary and Pam Ostrow for your ongoing support and friendship. There is a dedication in our recreation center downstairs carrying your parents' name, Barney and Ida Ostrow. Dinner is being served, and the program will continue afterwards with a performance from Shulam Lemmer.
Bess Meyerson was crowned Miss America in 1945, the only Jewish woman to ever win this title. In the aftermath of the Holocaust, this achievement was seen as an affirmation of the Jewish status in America. Active in Jewish life, Bess Meyerson appeared at many of the Jewish Center functions. She also had an audience with Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Both Mrs. Meyerson and her daughter Bara Grant became admirers of the Lubavitch movement. Mark Rothko, known at the Center as Marcus Rothkowitz, was art director of the Center Academy from 1929 to 1946. Former alumni recall painting backdrops on the gym floor for the various drama plays. It is an honor for the Center and its alumni to have had such a famous world-renowned artist on its faculty. His family reconnected with his past in recent years and appreciated learning of their father's connection with the Center and Jewish community. Shalom Sekunda was music director of the Jewish Center and led services for the youth in the small chapel. Mr. Sekunda was able to bolster morale and encourage a love for music among his thousands of students. He also lectured extensively on Jewish music and is most known for his Yiddish song Bei mir bist du schön, one that our parents know and enjoyed.
The Jewish Center was about action, making things happen for the betterment of the community and the future of the Jewish people. We are here for a purpose. We are here for a goal. We are pleased to announce, as my associate Rabbi Mendel Duchman so beautifully explained, that we are announcing the establishment of the Brooklyn Jewish Center Scholarship and Endowment Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, please give your full attention to the video screen.
The Brooklyn Jewish Center was founded on the premise of serving the needs of the Jewish community. Through the Center Academy and its branches, educating children was prioritized with a lasting impact. The alumni of the Academy stand at the forefront of Jewish causes today. Their pride in Jewish values and the land of Israel has been passed down to their children and grandchildren. On April 7, 1946, the center began a building campaign to raise $250,000 for the erection of an educational institute. They hired the architect Joseph Levy to draw up the plans for an 8-story building adjacent to the center. Campaigned Isidore Fine, president of the center and chairman of the Educational Institute Building Fund. This is not a luxury campaign. Rather, it is a vital and urgent necessity for the continued growth and progress of our community. It is our duty, mine and yours, to do everything in our power to increase our educational capacity, creating sufficient room for our Hebrew school. Rabbi Dr. Israel H. Leventhal described the urgency. We must take advantage now when people want Jewish education, when the Jewish consciousness has finally been aroused. Money was raised, plans were drawn, but due to a change in demographics, the new building was completed 50 years later in 1997 through the Education Institute of Ahale Torah. The BJC members entrusted their building and legacy to Ahale Torah, supporting the cause financially and celebrating its opening. The center has since become the anchor building of a block-long campus of Jewish education and culture. Today, we are presenting the former members of the Brooklyn Jewish Center and its alumni the opportunity to create their legacy through the Brooklyn Jewish Center Judaic Studies Scholarship and Endowment Chair. The establishment of this fund enables the education of Jewish pride and values in the same building that meant so much to you and your predecessors. This education, based on love and respect for all Jews, impacts world Jewry through the network of Chabad Lubavitch emissaries who have dedicated their lives to the needs of Jewish communities around the world. Your partnership will perpetuate the collective efforts, resources, and faith in the Jewish future that this building represents. The Scholarship Fund will carry your family name in an endowment book of life, recognizing both your commitment as well as your family legacy. A page dedicated to celebrating your life stories, connection to the center, and family members will be printed in this book of life. This special leather-bound book will be available for visitors to the center, as well as on the Brooklyn Jewish Center website. Join today. The need is great. The purpose is meaningful. And the goal of Jewish education is everlasting.
Rabbi Mendel Duchman and I thank all those who already participated in the Endowment Fund, and we invite those who have not yet to join. If I may introduce once again Mr. Barry Tucker, the evening's chairman, to introduce Shalom Lemmer, today's performer.
To close tonight's program, I'm delighted to introduce my friend, Shalom Lemmer, a singular voice who has gained widespread attention well beyond his hometown of Brooklyn, New York. Shalom made history as the firstborn and raised Orthodox singer to ever sign a major record deal in the United States. His recent contract with Universal Music Decca Gold label positions him as an artist primed to break through to a global audience with the release of his forthcoming album, The Perfect Dream. One of the most sought-after Jewish singers today, Shulam has performed in major synagogues across the globe and in front of wide ranges of audiences across the Jewish spectrum, as well as those of other faiths. He provides an authentic taste of Jewish music and culture with his proud Jewish appearance and style. He recently performed the national anthem at San Francisco's Giant Stadium and God Bless America at Fenway Park and Citi Field. This evening's performance is dedicated to the memory of great cantors who performed here at the Brooklyn Jewish Center, including Yossele Rosenblatt, Moshe Kosovitsky, William Sola, and my father, Richard Tucker, as well as many others. And now, please welcome my friend, Cantor Shulam Lemma.
I know I'm not here to speak, I'm here to sing, but I have to say, after watching this tribute and this video, it's truly an honor and a privilege to sing in this space, but also for a tribute to such great chazanim. And I actually picked this song, not even knowing, a song that Shulam Sekunda wrote. It's in Yiddish. I'm sure most of you understand. And it's now talking about the high holy days as we get ready for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Wenn es kommen on die 10 furchtige Tag, as es jemet Tshuva, hat jeder Yid bloß ein Sach in sein Machshov. Zochreinu lechaim, melech hofetz b'chaim, v'chosfeinu b'sefer ha'chaim. Gott soll ihm gedenken, dem Leben zu schenken, zu dem Jude, dem Eine Tzadik boretz, asher yase toiv, velo yechto, du's weiss der Jid. Nische du auf die Welt, afel a Tzadik, wo's habt da ohne Schluck kapures, läuft sie einmal sale zuris, euch für Heuscher, wird Samuels, läuft in die Schule. Und teilt in die Doves, in der Doch reinu lechaim, melech hofetz bachayim, v'chosvenu besefer achayim. Gott soll uns gedenken, dem Leben zu schenken, zu dem Jure, dem a ganze Tug gefasst und geklugt, in alle Tfilis gesucht, beten Slicho, Mechilo, Mehavavol, Shrim Baneilo. Wird auf'm Herzen a bissele gringe, in alle Iden singen. Oi, 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 Zochreinu lechaim, melech hofetz bachayim, v'chosmenu besefer achayim. Gott soll uns gedenken, dem Leben zu schenken. Leshono abo, Now, for whoever didn't understand some Yiddish, which is shame, but something in English, which, as it is in tribute to the great Richard Tucker, I think it's we can't mention Richard Tucker without saying the great Richard Tucker, right? You agree? So this is an English song. It's Exodus. It's been covered by many, but there's no greater and better version than Richard Tucker. This land is mine. God gave this land to me. This brave and ancient land to me. And when the morning sun reveals her hills and plains, and I see a land where children can run free. So take my hand and walk this land with me. This brave and golden land with me. Though I am just a man, this land with me and walk this golden land with me. Though I am just a man, when you are by my side, with the help of God, I know I can be strong to make this land a home. If I must fight, I'll fight to make this land a home. Thank you to our great pianist, Penny Ostreicher. Thank you so much.
I just want to take a moment to thank my devoted staff of Yisrael Cohen, Sarah Toller, Devorah Rosenblum, Rabbi Mendel Duchman, and the entire development office of Holy Torah. Thank you for the long hours, and Mayor Eichler, for your long hours in devotion of putting together this beautiful event. And of course, as I always do, I thank my beautiful wife, Sterni, and my wonderful children, my daughters and sons-in-laws who joined us this evening. As desserts are being served, now is a time that we want to close tonight's affair with a heartfelt plea from Rabbi Leventhal, said at his 90th birthday celebration in 1974. Please give your attention to the screens.
And now, dear friends, I want to add just one personal word. I appreciate very, very much all the praises that have been heaped upon me by all the speakers. But I'm old enough now to take these praises understandingly. They were somewhat exaggerated, but they came out of the goodness of their hearts. You know, we are a merciful people, and so we understand that with merciful hearts such words should come. But in all due modesty, I will admit and must admit that I have made some modest contribution in these 60 years to Jewish life, that I have achieved some measure of greatness. But I will add this, that whatever greatness I did achieve, it was largely because of you, men and women of the Brooklyn Jewish Center. You are a great congregation, one of the greatest in all the lands. And some of that greatness was reflected upon me. And if I ask you to remain a great congregation, it is because I want to share in your greatness. There is a very beautiful story, a tragic story, that we read just a few weeks ago in the Torah lesson that I must repeat to you. You remember that after the Jews, the Israelites, accepted the Torah from Mount Sinai, they went back on their pledge and they made a golden calf and danced before it and said, "This is your God." Moses was then in the heights communing with God, and God said to him, according to the Torah, "Lech reid ki shiches amcho." Get down, because your people have fallen from their greatness. They have become corrupt. And the rabbis add a beautiful touch to that scene. What does it mean, lech reid, get down? The rabbis ask. And they answer that God said to him, lech reid migduloscha, get down from your greatness. Klum nosati l'cha gedula, the only reason I gave you greatness was b'shvil Yisrael, for the sake of Israel, because they were a great people. But achshav shechotu Yisrael, but now that Israel has lost its greatness and has fallen from its greatness, Atolomali, what need do I have for you? Lech reid migdoloscha. My friends, dear friends, if I keep pleading with you to continue to be a great congregation, to continue to stand on the heights of Jewish service and Jewish achievement, it is, of course, because I want you to better serve the Jewish people and the Jewish faith. But I must confess honestly, I have a selfish reason too. I too want to continue to share in your greatness. And so I plead with you, men and women, let us remain in the heights. Let us all continue to be a great congregation so that you and I together may be great in the sight of God and in the sight of our fellow Jews for many, many more years to come. I thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. A good gebenchtyor, a shana tova. There are, for grace after the meals, there's benches on the tables. Enjoy the desserts, mingle, enjoy the evening together. Thank you so much for joining us.